There's a war going on down here that hardly anybody knows about. It's a war in which Britain is playing a major role, trying to help the Sultan of Oman fight off a Soviet-supported rebellion. Now, the rebels are based on the skyline way over there in southern Yemen, the old British Aden Protectorate, and right now the Sultan's armed forces are laying down quite a barrage on suspected enemy positions. From those positions, the rebels try and wind their way up past these government-held positions here, up into Oman to try and take the whole country over, and from there it's feared that they could threaten the oil-rich states of the rest of the Gulf.
19, contact, grid 885746, grid 4600, over.
The war began 12 years ago, but the Oman government now claim it could be over by June. They say there are only about 1,000 guerrillas left, and more of them are deserting to the government than ever before. For the moment, the Sultan has everything going for him. His oil pays for all the arms he needs. All he's short of is men. But in the last year, the Shah of Iran has come to the rescue with a large task force of nearly 3,000 men and a promise to defend Omani airspace. We were not permitted to film the Iranian presence in detail, but we did catch a glimpse of this anti-aircraft gunner in the distance. But the Iranians are comparative newcomers. The men who've been giving the orders in the Sultan's army since well before the war began are the British officers. 300 of them, half of them on loan from Britain, half of them paid directly by the Sultan. A mercenary captain earns £6,000 a year out here, tax-free.
You go to jail, do you?
Yeah. A day can be completely nothing happening and boring, and it can suddenly change in a moment to absolute excitement. Jets, planes, incomers, and the occasional sort of accident or someone slightly injured.
There have been about a dozen British officers killed, and several Labour MPs would like to see Britain's help to Oman ended altogether. But Britain gets base facilities from the Sultan. We pay virtually nothing towards the cost of them. And there's little doubt that without Britain's help, the Omanis would not be able to run the war themselves. Another patrol goes out to look for the rebels. The government claimed major successes in the last 4 weeks in pushing back the enemy towards the South Yemen frontier. But one operation to hunt out a main enemy supply base ended in failure and undisclosed casualties. There seems to be no doubt that the rebels are being held back, and the Sultan is at the moment winning this war. But forecasts of victory in guerrilla wars are notoriously inaccurate, and none know better than the British how long it takes to wind a war like this one up. Peter Snow, News at 10, in the mountains of Dhofar, Oman. The Sultan's forces take the capture of Rakut as a major victory. It means, they say, that most of the rebels up in those hills to the east of Rakut are now cut off from their supply line. Whereas in the hills to the west of Rakut, between here and the border with South Yemen, the army's net can now tighten around the 1,000 or so hardcore rebels who remain.
بطل ترك جوة الميزة اثنين دخول تفتيش، اثنين يفتشوا واثنين حراسة.
The soldiers come under fire, and obviously they defend themselves. They defend themselves pretty effectively too.
They do shoot at the enemy sometimes.
Well, if the enemy shoot at them, of course.
You think, if that's what you think, that it's in Britain's interest to go on supporting the Sultan in this war?
As you know, because of its position, controls the entry to the Gulf. We have always felt that the war in Dhofar is not being fought merely for Oman, but is being fought for the security of the Gulf. If Dhofar falls, then the north of Oman becomes at risk. If the north of Oman falls, then the Gulf is at risk. If the Gulf falls, then oil will no longer flow from this area. The Dhofaris who we talk about are supported today by Russia. They have been in the past supported by China. All monarchies are not necessarily evil, and all popularly supported revolutions are not necessarily good. I'd say that, I think.
Water is life to the mountain people of Dhofar, and the Sultan's government is working fast to bore the wells and make the water flow. 10,000 people live in the mountains, mostly goat and cattle farmers, and the fight is on for their hearts and minds, between the Sultan, who has the money, and the rebels who are well equipped but have been pushed back to the west in a successful government offensive in the last 2 months. They may well filter back again, but in the meantime, the government is spending £14 million on development in the coming year, trying to persuade the Dhofari people that they're better off with the Sultan than with the rebels. Take this village. Half of the young men here are out fighting in the hills on the rebel side. But this old man told us that things were changing, and that the Sultan's schools, doctors and new waterholes were winning people back. A year ago, no one on the Sultan's side would have ventured into this village. Now, just up the hill, there's one of the 6 developments by government civil action teams. 4 years ago, there were 3 schools in the whole of Oman. Now there are over 100. In this development, there's also a free clinic and a general store. We asked the children in the class to sing us a song. The grown-ups didn't allow it to last for long. It was a rebel song. The children of the divided village had innocently got their loyalties mixed up. The next attempt went down better. Winning people's loyalty with education and economic progress is a long and expensive task. But with the army increasing its grip of the war, development should take its toll of the rebel support too, as long as the money doesn't run out. Peter Snow, ITN, in the mountains of Dhofar.